What if I told you that the light in your home, the power in your devices, and even the way cities run today all come from a bitter rivalry? A battle between two brilliant inventors. On one side stood Thomas Edison, America's celebrated inventor. On the other, Nikola Tesla, a quiet genius with ideas far ahead of his time. Their struggle over how electricity should power the world became known as the War of Currents, a clash that shaped history. Welcome to Legacy Narratives, where every story is a journey through history, wisdom, and memories worth remembering. The late 19th century was a crucible of invention, a time when the modern world was being forged in the white-hot sparks of genius and ambition. At the heart of this transformation was a single powerful force: electricity. But the question of how this mysterious energy would be harnessed, distributed, and power humanity's future sparked one of history's most epic intellectual and commercial battles: the War of the Currents. On one side stood Thomas Alva Edison, America's most celebrated inventor, a master of brute force experimentation and commercial prowess. On the other was Nikola Tesla, a visionary immigrant from Serbia, a theoretician of sublime elegance and otherworldly imagination. Their clash was not merely a technical dispute over wiring and transformers. It was a fundamental conflict of philosophies, personalities, and visions for the world. Act 1. The Direct Current Kingdom. By the 1880s, Thomas Edison was already a legend. The Wizard of Menlo Park had gifted the world the phonograph, the incandescent light bulb, and a system for generating electrical power to make it useful. His approach to invention was relentless and empirical. He and his team would test thousands of materials until something worked. His electrical system was a reflection of this mindset. Direct current, DC. DC power is simple and constant, like a steady flow of water from a tap. It worked well for the light bulbs that were the primary product of his Edison Electric Light Company. He built the world's first commercial power station on Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan, and it began supplying DC power to a small section of the city in 1882. But DC had a crippling flaw. It could not travel far. Due to resistive losses in the wires, a DC power station could only send electricity about a mile before the voltage dropped to useless levels. This meant that to power a city, one would need a power station every square mile, a prohibitively expensive and inefficient proposition. Edison, stubborn and deeply invested in his own technology, refused to acknowledge this as a fatal weakness. To him, DC was safe, proven, and his. He would defend his empire at all costs. Act 2. The Arrival of the Visionary. In 1884, a tall, slender, and impeccably dressed Serbian engineer arrived in New York City with little more than 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of introduction to the great Thomas Edison. The letter from Charles Batchelor, a European associate of Edison's, reportedly read, "My dear Edison, I know 2 great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." Nikola Tesla was Edison's opposite in almost every way. Where Edison was pragmatic and hands-on, Tesla was a theoretician who conceived his inventions in detailed, 3-dimensional mental images before ever building a prototype. He was a man who spoke 8 languages, possessed an eidetic memory, and was plagued by peculiar phobias and flashes of visionary insight. Edison gave the young man a job, and Tesla immediately set to work improving Edison's DC dynamos. According to Tesla, Edison once offered him $50,000, a colossal sum at the time, if he could successfully redesign an inefficient motor. Tesla toiled for months and delivered a vastly superior design. When he asked for the payment, Edison merely laughed. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor," he allegedly said. Humiliated and disillusioned, Tesla resigned after just 6 months. This incident ignited a deep personal animosity in Tesla. He was not motivated by money, but by a burning desire to realize his ideas. He believed he had the solution to the very problem that plagued Edison's system. While digging ditches for $2 a day to survive, Tesla refined his concept not for direct current, but for alternating current, AC. Act 3. The Alternating Current Revelation. AC is fundamentally different from DC. Instead of flowing in one direction, it oscillates back and forth rapidly, 60 times per second, or 60 Hz, in Tesla's system. This oscillation allows it to be easily manipulated with a device called a transformer. A transformer can step up AC voltage to incredibly high levels for transmission over long wires with minimal energy loss, and then step down the voltage to safe levels for use in homes and factories. Tesla didn't just invent an AC motor, he invented the entire polyphase system of AC generation, transmission, and utilization. It was a complete, elegant, and revolutionary system. In 1887, with the backing of businessmen Alfred S. Brown and Charles F. Peck, Tesla secured patents for his AC induction motor and polyphase system. This was the weapon that could challenge Edison's kingdom. The stage was set for war, but Tesla needed a general. He found one in George Westinghouse. A brilliant inventor and formidable industrialist in his own right, George Westinghouse had made his fortune with his railroad air brake. He immediately recognized the superiority of Tesla's system. In 1888, he licensed Tesla's patents for $60,000 in cash and stock, plus a royalty of $2.50 per horsepower of electrical capacity sold. More importantly, he believed in the vision. Westinghouse now had the technology, and he had the resources to wage war against the Edison empire. Act 4, the war is declared. What followed was not just a business competition, but a vicious propaganda campaign, masterminded by Edison and his allies. Knowing he could not win on technical merit alone, Edison set out to frighten the American public into believing that AC was inherently, lethally dangerous. He publicly dubbed the Westinghouse system the executioner's current. To prove his point, he and his associates, notably Harold P. Brown, a self-proclaimed electrical engineer allied with Edison, staged gruesome public demonstrations. They electrocuted stray dogs, cats, horses, and even a circus elephant named Topsy using AC power. These macabre spectacles were designed to link AC with death in the public consciousness. The campaign reached its grotesque zenith with the development of the electric chair. When New York State sought a more humane method of execution than hanging, Edison advisor Harold P. Brown actively consulted on its development, ensuring it was powered by a Westinghouse AC generator. In 1890, William Kemmler became the first man executed by electrocution. The botched execution was horrifyingly prolonged, and Westinghouse famously commented, "They would have done better with an axe." The event was a public relations nightmare, but the Westinghouse Corporation was appalled that their technology was being used for this purpose and fought, unsuccessfully, to stop it. Throughout this war of the currents, Tesla remained the quiet scientist, largely working in the background. While Edison was orchestrating electrocutions, Tesla was demonstrating the safety and wonder of AC in his own way. At lectures, he would pass high-frequency AC through his own body to make light bulbs glow in his hands, a stunning display that proved, through science rather than fear, that electricity could be tamed and made safe. The technological coup de grace came in 1893 at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. This white city was to be a dazzling showcase of the future, and it needed to be lit. Westinghouse, underbidding Edison by half, won the contract to power the fair. He and Tesla pulled off the impossible. Against immense time pressure, they illuminated the entire fairgrounds with over 100,000 AC-powered lights. For the millions of visitors who witnessed it, the fair was a magical vision of an electrified future, and it was powered by Tesla's AC system. The demonstration was a resounding public victory. The final blow to Edison's DC system was the Niagara Falls project. A consortium sought to harness the power of the falls to generate electricity for the city of Buffalo, 26 miles away. After the success at the Chicago Fair, there was no doubt which system to use. In a monumental engineering feat, Westinghouse Electric built the first large-scale AC power plant at Niagara Falls. On November 16, 1896, it began transmitting power to Buffalo. It was the undeniable proof that AC was the future. The war of the currents was over. AC had won. Act V, the aftermath and legacies. The outcome of the war defined the modern electrical landscape. The entire world's power grid is built on the foundation of Tesla's polyphase AC system. It was one of the most significant engineering victories in history. Yet, the personal outcomes for the two protagonists were deeply ironic and reflected the complexities of their characters. Thomas Edison saw his electrical empire crumble. The Edison General Electric Company, forced to adapt to survive, merged with the Thomson-Houston Company in 1892 to form General Electric. In a final, bitter irony, the new company began manufacturing AC equipment, abandoning Edison's beloved DC system entirely. Edison himself gradually withdrew from the electricity business, turning his immense talents to other ventures like the phonograph and motion pictures. His legacy as America's greatest inventor remained intact, but the war marked his most significant defeat. He never fully gave Tesla credit, remaining stubborn to the end. Nikola Tesla, despite his world-altering victory, faced a different fate. When the financial panic of 1890 hit, Westinghouse came to Tesla in desperation. The royalty payments, which would have eventually made Tesla one of the wealthiest men in the world, were threatening to bankrupt the Westinghouse Corporation. Believing in his partner and his shared mission more than in personal fortune, Tesla famously tore up the royalty contract. He accepted a one-time payment of $216,000 for the outright purchase of his patents. It was a grand, noble gesture that cost him hundreds of millions of dollars. Tesla went on to even more visionary and ultimately unrealized projects: wireless power transmission, the Wardenclyffe Tower, and thoughts of tapping into the Earth's energy. He died in 1943, alone and in debt in a New York hotel room, a brilliant prophet who had given the world a foundation it used but could not yet fully understand. The duel of ideals. The War of the Currents was more than a feud between two men. It was a clash of two irreconcilable philosophies. Edison represented the practical, incremental, and commercial spirit of invention. He improved what existed and made it marketable. He believed in a localized, controlled system of power. In the end, the world adopted Tesla's system, but operated it with Edison's business acumen. We live in a world powered by Tesla's AC, delivered by a grid that owes its existence to his genius. Yet, we often plug our devices into Edison's light sockets, a fitting, silent testament to both men. The War of the Currents did not have a single winner. It had two losers who sacrificed fortune and pride on the altar of progress. But it had one unequivocal victor: humanity, which gained the spark of the modern age from the heated friction between two of history's most brilliant and contradictory minds.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through history and inspiration. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more timeless stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of today's story touched you the most? Please leave a comment below. Until next time, keep the legacy alive.